Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the likes and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. And as always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And in today's video, I'm going to be discussing Conor Gallagher and the potential sale of him, maybe as early as the January window. This has caused quite a lot of stir online, Twitter, between various sections of the fan base. Some saying no problem with it, others like myself think it's absolutely ridiculous to be entertaining something like this. So I'm going to go into the reasons why I feel that is the case. Now, obviously, we had, I think maybe a week or so ago, we had an exclusive in the Daily Mail that some figures in Chelsea were trying to push for the sale of Gallagher because it makes sense for financial reasons. Obviously, being an academy graduate, it's pure profit on the books, as we know. And obviously, we're sailing close to the wind with profit and sustainability rules for the Premier League. And, obviously, a quick and easy way of raising quick money is by selling academy graduates. But we've had Fabrizio Romano saying that Chelsea, even offer came in excess of £35 million, Chelsea would be open to it. For January, it would take an important proposal to sell Conor Gallagher. But if it's something more than 35 million, then Chelsea could be open to discussing it. Now, I just want to say this first, that this is not about whether Conor Gallagher is a top player or whether Gallagher are there better players than Gallagher out there. Absolutely. Can Chelsea get a better player than Conor Gallagher? Yes, they absolutely can. This is about the precedent that it sets, the message that it sends, rather than actually the quality of the player himself. Now, I want to start off by saying that, it's, for me, if Gallagher's sold, it's basically against the manager's wishes. We know how much Pochettino likes Conor Gallagher. You don't have to look at his comments on him again after the game against Sheffield United last weekend, that he's a huge fan of his. Gallagher himself has come out saying that he wants to stay at the club. He loves it here. He's started every single game in the Premier League this season, bar the one he was suspended for against Man United. He's been a captain at times. He's probably been Chelsea's best player for the first half of this season. And the manager wants him to stay. The manager likes him. It's absolutely clear. And, if Conor Gallagher does get sold, it will prove two things. The manager, whoever it is, whether it's Pochettino, whether the next man, whoever it might be, means very little to the overall project. And then the ownership's words on the academy a while back, they spoke of Cobham very glowingly, were basically political and potentially disingenuous, in my opinion. Look, we know full well that the club tried to sell Gallagher last January on the final day of the window, but he said no. And they tried to sell him for a lot of this summer just gone. But at the end, they turned down offers because Poch clearly wanted to keep him. Now they're planning to sell him purely for financial fair play reasons. And then they're going to try and spin it to us that Conor didn't want to sign a new deal, which absolutely isn't the case. It's a tricky one because for me, it sets a dangerous precedent potentially. Recruitment at a football club is meant to be a cohesive relationship. It shouldn't be the manager having all the say, and it shouldn't be the board having all the say. If a manager sees a player as a key part of how he wants to play, then the board shouldn't even be thinking about selling him. That is the reality of the situation. If Conor Gallagher is a key player for Chelsea right now, whether people like it or not, he is a key player for Chelsea. This is not about whether he's going to be here in 2, 3, 4 years' time. He's a key player for Chelsea right now. If your current manager says that this player is a key part of my team, I want him to stay. He's been captain. He started every single game, as I said. Then the board shouldn't be entertaining selling him. Not only that, it's the message that it sends. And it's completely separate from whether you rate Gallagher or not. Sporting directors are meant to supplement the manager's wants and needs. And they're not meant to sell their most used player and part-time captain this season. Like, the biggest problem for me is, that we're just basically right now, trying to cover up some terrible transfers and, potentially a lot of money wasted or mistakes in the market by just, selling common products for pure profit. It sets a really bad precedent. The academy should be, one of the main sources for the team. Of course, it's always going to be twofold. If you're good enough, you'll play for the first team, and you don't have to pay any money for decent players. And secondly, if you're not quite good enough, you can still go and have a good career elsewhere, and it's a good moneymaker. But right now, I think the academy just seems to be being looked at as pure profit because it's covering up mistakes that we're making in the market, and we can't keep doing that because eventually the roof will fall in. Imagine you're looking at one of the top talents at Cobham. You're telling them you could make it through to the first team, and then you have a good loan career, become a regular like Gallagher has, and you probably be the best player for half of the season. The manager praises you in public. He's saying that he wants you to stay. You say that you want to stay, and then you just get sold so we can go and sign like a load of 15, 16-year-olds from Brazil. It just doesn't make sense. Again, as I said, it's not about whether you rate Gallagher or not. It's the precedent it sets for Cobham, and it's directly going against the manager's public wants in a so-called long-term project. So what is it that they want? What is it that these owners want? What is it that these guys want? It just, for me, it's not making sense. And people might say, oh no, what if we got £50 million for Gallagher if we did, and that went towards paying for Victor Osimhen next summer? It's not much. It's not that is a completely irrelevant argument because it's clear this pure profit is just plugging holes in the roof, and it's eventually gonna cave in on us. It's quite clear that since this ownership came in, the plan has always been to sell Conor Gallagher. I just don't get why they didn't do it in the first window that the ownership came in. Why didn't they just sell him in summer 22? It's obvious that they've not wanted him. It's obvious that they deem him surplus to requirements, or they see him as a saleable asset. So for me, it doesn't really make an awful lot of sense. So yeah, I can't understand what this ownership wants, but it's publicly going against the manager. Now, if they do this, and this is still a big if, but if they do this, then what does that mean about the relationship between the sporting directors and the manager and the higher ups? Is it that the manager's word is just not listened to and we don't care? We're just going to go and do it anyway because we've got our plans, and whether you like them or not, we're going to follow through with it. Does it mean that, ultimately in this project, it doesn't really matter who the manager is? They're just seen as an interchangeable part, and what the sporting directors and the ownership want to do, they'll just do anyway. It's an odd one. It really is. I just personally don't get it. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It really is. Look, I get it that we spent a lot of money and we probably need to sell in order to buy, but that doesn't mean that you just flog off your academy graduates. You've got to be smarter in the transfer market and not just spaff a load of money up the wall on players that might be good in a few years. I'm not saying that Conor Gallagher is going to be here in a few years' time, but this idea that we'd sell him and we wouldn't even consider offering him a new contract. If I'm Gallagher, like I'd be I'd be slightly hesitant about signing an 8-year contract. He's 23 years of age. That potentially takes him up to 31. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense to sign that length of contract. Ultimately, they've not sat down and spoken to him about a new deal. Of course, he would sign a new deal. He loves Chelsea. He wants to be here. This is his club. But it also makes you sort of worry a little bit. Well, how many more Cobham graduates are actually going to come through into the first team under this ownership? It makes you sort of wonder about, well, if we do a lot of spending, continue to spend heavily, what does that mean about Levi Colwell? Do they think, do you know what? Yeah, we may well consider selling him because it's pure profit and we can go and bring someone else in and make a load of money. What does that mean about Reece James? This is the captain and he's a top class player, but you sort of start to worry about the bigger picture. This is not just a Conor Gallagher thing. This is potentially a bigger picture thing as well, with pure profit players and the way that we're spending. And some of it absolutely is reckless, but it just doesn't make any sense to even entertain the thought of selling your best player halfway through a season when it's clearly against the manager's wish. He started every game. He's been really important to Chelsea. But yet we think it might be a good idea to cash in on him because we've spent more than we perhaps should have done, and we're desperate to recoup some funds. And the quickest way of doing that is by selling academy players. You can't keep plugging the gaps with pure profit sales. It's unsustainable, and it simply does not work like that. It really is. He was up for sale long before Pochettino came in. I can understand to the point it might not be about backing the manager, but the manager wants him to stay. You know, they're not going to try. He said very publicly, Gallagher, he wants to stay multiple times recently, and we know that he's not being offered a deal. And look, for me, it's quite clear they're not really trying to offer him a deal at the moment. It's a weird one, you know. It's strange because Gallagher clearly, for me, is not part of the sporting director's vision or plans. But can we really trust these directors? It's a strange one. It's a really odd one for me. If I was Gallagher, I'd be thinking, do you know what? I'd give that little two fingers up to the hierarchy, and I'd just run my contract down and leave on a free. You know, it's crazy. It would be a travesty. You know, in tough times, you need players around that understand what it means to play for the club. How many players are we going to be left with that actually care and know what it means to play for the club in these tough times? It's vital to keep players, who give absolutely everything for the club, knows what it means having come through the academy and all that stuff. More importantly than any opinion right now is the fact he's been one of our best players this season, and Poch rates him highly. That in itself should be reasons not to sell Conor Gallagher. But here we are. We seem to find ourselves in a situation in a pure shambles that this ownership, directors or whatever, need to get pure profit, and they're just looking at the academy players and just like, right, let's get rid of them, regardless of how important they've been to the team, regardless of how good they are. And it makes sense on all levels to offer Gallagher a new contract, because let's be real, right now, unless Gallagher signs a new deal, this January window is basically going to represent the most money we'll get from him. You get to the summer, he's got 1 year left. You're dropping in value. Even if you want to sell him, and that's part of the plans, and I'm not saying Gallagher should be here in 2 or 3 years' time or whatever, you still offer him a new deal anyway to protect his value and get as much as possible for a player that's 23 going on 24, English, good midfield player. You want to maximize the amount of money you can get for him. And right now, by not offering a new deal, this window coming up is the last chance to get any decent money for him. So it really doesn't make any sense. I'm starting to get tired of these directors and the direction they're going in, the way the squad's been put together, the way they're moving. It doesn't sit right with me. But, this is the situation that we're in. We're 2 windows into a 4-window plan. And if the next 2 windows don't bring in experience, then I'm really starting to doubt this project and the direction the club's going in. But guys, that's just my thoughts on the Conor Gallagher situation. We absolutely shouldn't be selling him. But it looks like there's potential for that to happen maybe as early as next month. Anyway, guys, make sure you smash a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you again in another one soon. Up the Chelsea, and peace out.